everyone. Happy Wednesday. I am in my car. I'm at work. In my car. And I'm going to wait for everybody to jump on. But we have a really incredible female guest who is both a brand strategist and does inner work. And this combined business creates more authenticity for business owners. So we're going to chat. Hi, Gwen. We're going to chat. It might get emotional. It might be really insightful. And I think you're going to really enjoy this conversation. I spoke with her yesterday and I envisioned her to be a certain way, and then I chatted with her and I was like, oh, you're the perfect person for me to speak with right now. So I can't wait to have Luna Battalia, right? You're Italian, you're Sicilian. Is that the right way to say your last
Battalia.
name? Battalia. Hi, how are you? That's right. Yes, fellow Paisan. It's so nice to see you in person. I loved the conversation that we were able to have. It's amazing because I found you through Madeline Moon, who I had interviewed. And it's like you're just right on time in my life. You know, we spoke yesterday about feeling authenticity and how to bring forth your most authentic self when creating a business, and just finding ways to authentically serve. So before we really get into it, I thought you were just a branding and a biz coach. I apologize. You were way more than that. Can you explain exactly what you do?
No.
It's probably hard to explain it all.
For so long. I wish that it would just, it's just this really simple, clear, easy one sentence pitch. I work at the intersection of personal and professional development, and it's all about leaving a legacy and letting your life be something that lives on beyond you. And that legacy could be your presence. It could be that you could be a grocery store clerk and be totally on purpose, and people are deeply impacted by getting in that cash register line and having you in it. And that impact happens all the time, regularly. And I think that that's what we're all trying to find, because that's what gives us meaning. And when we find that and we give ourselves to it, and it's beyond the survival making money, but it really moves us and gives us a place in the world and a sense of belonging and a sense of purpose, everything else in our life is impacted by that, right? Our romantic relationships, our friendships, our community, our health, our wellness, our vitality, our mental health, all of these things thrive when we have a sense of meaning and purpose. And so I really, the foundation of all my work is self-intimacy. And it's always been like marketed as leadership. Luna Love Leadership. And it's really that the willingness to get intimate with ourselves is the greatest act of leadership that we can take with our lives. And from there, the magic happens. And so when I serve entrepreneurs and I'm serving leaders who are already these figures and people with power and positions in the world, there's a greater impact because they have more hands and more pots and lives to be touched. So I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's really beautiful because I was exploring the concept of midlife crisis yesterday. Oh. And then I looked up your bio.
Oh yeah.
You have the word, I wrote it down because I couldn't believe it. You transformed your midlife crisis into a midlife transformation. And I think so many of us have understood what the midlife crisis traditionally looks like is the guy who's middle-aged, now wants to go buy a Porsche, and the father of the bride concept is what comes to me, which he wants to be like in a sports car, and now you want whatever. But what midlife transformation or midlife crisis is for me, and I'm curious your take on it, is we've built this life based on whatever woundings we have that we weren't seen when we were young. So I'll use me specifically. I was kind of felt like odd man out. I had brothers who teased me, and grew up in a really wealthy neighborhood, but had working class parents. And so for me, I exerted myself by just trying to achieve. And I didn't really understand what success meant. I thought it meant money and popularity and fancy clothes and all of the things that society thinks is successful. So then you build all of these things. You have the house, you have the car, you have the friends, you have everything. And then you go, something's off here. So that for me is what feels like a midlife crisis. And I want to get into all of that with you. But what also struck a chord, which is why I'm like, oh my God, this woman is really like right on time for me. Your relationship to grief. I lost my dad like a year ago. And it's been the most painful transformation for me with everything going on. Of course, there's a car alarm happening. Okay, good. Your relationship to grief is embedded in your Instagram, and it did transform you because you put on a party girl mask. Can you explain your relationship to grief and how it got you here?
Yeah, it's interesting that you're bringing this up. I spent the morning hanging out with my ex-husband, and the thing that I've wanted, which is to grieve together in this process of separation and divorce, hasn't been available for many reasons. And today we had like just 2 hours of doing that together, and it was so beautiful and healing. And I've come to know throughout my life, I lost my mom when I was 13 and have had a lot of other loss in my life. And I became the party girl to avoid feeling those feelings. And drinking and drugs and promiscuity and all these things helped me to pretend that my life was not what it was, and the feelings that I had were not really there, but they were. And they didn't go anywhere. And it's interesting because there's so many little pieces that line up around this. Is that I ended up working in addiction care as a counselor, and my role was life purpose counselor. And what I talked about earlier is just having this sense of meaning. And oftentimes there was this thing for the clients that they had experienced, and a part of themselves or a part of their life or a part of their identity needed to die, and they didn't know how to do that. There was a sense of illiteracy in grieving. And for myself too, and I think for our culture. And so throughout a series of events in my life, I had no other choice but to really either learn how to grieve or probably end up dead in a ditch somewhere. And so I did, because I felt some kind of invisible support system there guiding me. And I had that, I just had no other choice. And I had already had like a lot of wake up calls and consciousness and spiritual things happen in my life, but I hadn't really done the deep work. It was all like theory and like sounds good and feels good, but like not really grounded. So I really learned how to grieve, and I became really intimate with it. And it helped me to be with myself in new ways. It helps me to be with other people, because we cannot have growth and life and expansion without the contraction and the death. And the only thing that just grows and grows and grows and grows and grows is cancer, without any sense of contraction or regard for its environment or like impact. And everything else in nature has the contraction, has the pause, has the winter, has the death, has the loss, because it cycles. And so I learned how to do that. And it's interesting because in this conversation with my ex-husband this morning, it was like, I've been doing that for the last year and a half. And he's just beginning to scratch that. And that's what I wanted the whole time, was like, why aren't we doing this together? Like, this is where the healing happens. This is where, like, this is an expression of love. This is honoring the beautiful chapter that we shared together by grieving, by feeling how it's not like the loss of our love, but like an ending, right? And so we see these all the time in our lives, in our businesses, in our relationships. And we don't have a cultural grasp on like, how do we move through it? And it's amazing because I have all these clients, and like so many of these women come and they're like, I'm ready to expand. I'm ready to step into my next level of leadership. And like 9 times out of 10, maybe 10 times out of 10, it's like, okay, I feel that next thing, that next chapter, it's a new beginning, right? So what does that mean? There's an ending. And oftentimes we're so hyper focused on what's next and the new beginning and the expansion and the 10xing the business and the money and the things, that we don't actually honor what's dying, what's being lost, what's ending. And I find that it has become the place that I have a lot of night vision and legs to like explore this place that most people have not been willing to go in their lives. And so I've become a guide for people, especially leaders who want to get to that next level and expand and be more aligned in their roles in their life, whether it's leading their family, leading their home, their community, their business, all of those things, which is usually how women roll. It's like they're everything in all of those roles. And oftentimes there's just something that hasn't been honored, dignified, because with death has to come dignity. No matter who.
Say that one more time.
I believe, and people might disagree, that death deserves dignity. So anyone, no matter what their life has been like, you could have been a murderer, I don't know. I believe that in your death, you deserve dignity. Mm-hmm. You lived this life. What a crazy experience. And it's the end and it's dying, and like there deserves to be dignity there. And because of things and choices we've made in our lives, sometimes that's not given to us. But I believe it is. And so when these little parts of ourselves die, don't they also deserve dignity? Don't they also deserve a little funeral? What's the thing? I can't remember, like a eulogy. You know, it's like saying kind words to the part of us that is no longer able to be carried forward. Because if we want to get where we're going and we want to be the better leaders, we have to let certain parts of ourselves die, but they also need to be honored. It's not like, oh, just get rid of this. I don't want this anymore. It's not helping me. It's like, wow, thank you. You've gotten me here. And only by honoring it can we move forward without having to look back. Otherwise, those things will always catch up to us.
It's so interesting because I just thought you had this grief experience that I resonated with, because I also lost a parent and it deeply affected me, and that you were just experiencing it. But it actually becomes quite symbolic in your work in teaching women that with expansion comes this element of grief or death. Really quickly, I'm curious, like, what is the proper way to grieve? You said you weren't doing it right. For someone who is in the process of grieving, and I don't think it ever ends.
No.
Is the answer you're about to give me also the same answer you give to your female business owners who just want to 10x the business but don't look to the grieving element? What do you recommend or suggest, or what's the thing you say?
Yeah, it's the willingness to feel, the willingness to go into it, the willingness to get curious with it, intimate with it, look at what's there, feel what's there, let yourself be moved by it, let yourself be transformed by it. I think of grief as a friend, as a beloved, as a gift, because I don't think that it's so like my mom, my marriage, a child, these things, and like parts of my life that I've lost. I really don't think that I'm grieving that thing. I've come to find that I'm grieving the identity that I created for myself that was attached to that. So this person's daughter, and without them, who am I now? And I think I've grieved the false senses of self, and what going into grief has given me is the shedding of the false ones, and anything that my identity that's attached to external things that can be lost, the house, the job, the title, the things, the external things that I've made my identity. And all those things can be gone. And then if they're gone, who am I? And I want to know myself beyond those things. And so grief has given me that. Grief has given me the passage back to knowing myself beyond the things that I've attached to. And I still do it. And I still find myself attached to things, and they get lost in life, or they end, or the chapter closes, and there's more there to feel. And that's, I don't think it's about like step 1, 2, 3, and this is how you do it. I wish it was that easy, but I think it's really in the willingness. Willingness is
Yeah.
key. I don't need to know how, but I'm willing. And I think that's been my prayer a lot, is like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. I don't know how. I don't know the steps. I don't know what to do, but I'm willing. And I think that willingness moves us through and invites life to show us the way. And if we're willing to receive whatever life brings to us, we will find the way.
Yeah, and it's funny because you're like, there's no 3 steps, or there's no like, as someone who is grew up playing sports and has a bit of, I think I've compensated into a little bit more my masculine. I like to go, okay, so I'll structure my day like this. Willingness is going to be the first part of my day, and then I'm going to do the other thing. For and I do have men that do follow me. So I want to open this up to both men and women. But like, what does that like look like for you? Is that meditation? Is it just picking up the phone and just talking to somebody and saying you're struggling?
Yeah, it's.
Sorry, I'm trying to get you to be really specific, and you just said that there's no specific way. But
well, I think it looks different for everyone. But I found these kind of themes in grief, and it's like waves, right? Everyone kind of describes it like that. It just comes in waves. It's like a wave. And like sports, in order to get good at your craft, at your sport, you have to practice. You have to show up every day and train and practice and meet new plateaus and edges. And like, I was really feeling really good. And then all of a sudden I plateaued, and my backswing or whatever it is that you're training on, it suddenly finds like a new place that is a new edge of growth. And I think that it's the same thing in feeling feelings, is like, just practice. You're not going to be great at it all the time. It's not going to get you the first place award every time, but are you willing to practice? Because practice and showing up is what will help you become the best sportsman in that craft, just like life. And so the practice is not, yes, a practice can be sitting down in meditation, but for me, it's more often when it's not scheduled, because that's when life surprises you and invites you to feel things, and you're like, but I have an Instagram live to go to. Like, I can't be, feeling all these feelings right now. And that actually happened this morning. I had a live with somebody else at 12, and I was driving home from this hangout with my ex, and I was like, just crying driving home, with such love and such appreciation and such gratitude for the ability to feel all this so much. Like, it felt like such a gift. And I was like, should I go? Should I cancel? And it was like, this is the gift. Like, the gift is bringing it. The gift is sharing it. The gift is letting people who also feel this way know that they're not alone, know that they can still show up and do the things and bring this part of them with them, that they don't have to leave it at home, that they don't have to pretend that they're not a human being to get through their job, but that, like, how do we culture, and that's the type of leadership and people that I'm working with, is like, these are the type of cultural shifts and changes that I'm working with people in bringing into their realms of leadership, nonprofits, C-suites. Like, can we be human? Can we feel these things? And can we make an impact, change the world, make money, share the wealth, all those things, right? Because I think a lot of times we've really compartmentalized these aspects of ourselves. And what I find when I've had, like, my business have a big team and lots of people and weekly meetings with all the people, is like, okay, before we talk about all the things, like, I just want to do a personal check-in with everyone. Like, what's going on in your life? What's going on with your sick mom, with your child, with your family? And those people feel very different about working with me, working for me, and with me on a team, when that's the foundation of our relationship. And it's not overly sharing or like, it's just human connection. It's being honest, it's intimacy, it's going to the grocery store and having someone say, how are you? And when you're actually not having a good day, having the willingness to go, I've had better days, thanks so much for asking, instead of going, fine, thanks, how about you? Right? It's being real.
I love that, because you brought it full circle back to what you do as a mentor, as someone who, inspires others to be more authentic in their career. We work and we're around the people we work with more often than probably our own
A
family.
lot of times.
And my experience when I lost my dad at a job that I had felt shunned. I had felt ghosted. I had felt unseen, unheard. And all I really wanted in that moment was acceptance for this feeling that I couldn't describe. I had lost my dad. Life was the lowest I'd ever experienced. I was with my dad when they tried to save him and resuscitated him. And if the world of broadcast, we kind of can't really bring the breakdown to the studio. We kind of have to pretend like everything is okay. So off camera, I had just wished I was held in that. And I didn't feel the acceptance for the experience, which is also okay.
Yeah.
I think what you refer to as like what a leader can be is in those moments you actually care about the person, and then you would almost see that person like work harder for you. That's not necessarily the intention. No. But feeling seen and heard means you're feeling empowered and you're around an environment that cares.
And you reciprocate, right? Like you want to show up because you're being shown up for, and then it just keeps going and going and going, and people want to keep showing up, just like any relationship. And you wanted to feel shown up for at that time by your work family, and probably just like giving a big hug and like, oh, I don't know what you're going through, but I'm here with you.
Yeah, that would have been all I needed. I so appreciate you. I don't want to be, we could really talk about this for so much longer than the 20 minutes I told you I was going to take of your time. But I am grateful for your transparency and you revealing your story, because it gives women like me this permission to sort of show up as our true selves. Because I think the thing I am really harnessing when it comes to my confidence is, what is my gift and what can I utilize as service rather than status?
Right.
How can I be of service rather than this? That's
good. Service versus like status. I'm going to write that down. That's okay.
Yeah, because I thought this is my camera light. It broke halfway through. Go figure. Because I think growing up with all the things that I felt in the inequities or my limitations, I thought I needed status to get love. But now I realize service, genuine service. If you feel you have social anxiety, sometimes I have social anxiety. Like, I don't really like small talk. I get a little uncomfortable by that. Like, hi, how are you? How is everything? And I'm like, life fucking sucks right now. But that's okay. If I switch the flip and go, how can I serve this person, instead of how can I stay in my small mind of like, how am I being seen? The confidence switches into live this life of service, which in my industry as a broadcaster, especially being a female, I have always thought I need to climb the ladder as quick as I can, because I'm a woman and I better hurry it up. And you feel so competitive. And so when you flip it and you go, oh, I'm going to create a space for other women to feel safe with me, that is what makes me feel empowered, strong, confident, all of the things. Then the thoughts of, oh, there's a cattiness there, or am I being backstabbed, which has happened in my beginning of my career, that kind of melts away. Like, that's not me to own. If someone wants to be catty or backstabby, that's theirs, and that's okay. Like, I now realize there's wounding there, and I still can love them and hold space and be fine. But I
think people's choices are a reflection of them, not of where those actions are directed. And I think that's so important to remember. But I wanted to circle back because when you were talking about when you were going through this grief with your dad and your work life, I think that what those experiences give us is like a better compass. And then you start to have people and conversations and friends and relationships and community and work experiences where you are like, oh, I actually do need to ask for help and tell people what I want. And then when I do that, I have these people show up in amazing ways that I didn't even know were possible. And that has been a huge thing in the last chapter of grief with the divorce, is like, I have been kind of the matriarch alpha female of my communities. No matter where I go, I just happen to take the lead and people gravitate and it just flows, and there's love and community and generosity and reciprocity. And then I was like, oh, I need so much help right now. And I have been giving so much in my life that I don't even know where to go, who's there. And I just was like, kind of like, help. Help. And like people heard it and they came. And once you start to have that in your life, I can't go into the offices or the experiences or the partnerships or dating or relationships or things that don't have that same quality of generosity, of fullness, of showing up, of care, of willingness to go intimate, willingness to go deep. And then it's like, oh, cool. Look at these amazing, like, who does this on an IG live? Like, this is so, like, I just met you a few days ago. And I think that the depth of our conversation and the willingness to go there is a real reflection of the work that we've done and the people who are tuning in, who have stayed. It's like, there's this curiosity, and that changes the world. That's leadership. The willingness to be vulnerable, to be transparent about being human, that you don't have it all figured out. And I don't have it all figured out. I'm a mess a lot of times, and I'm highly successful. Right? And it's like, you can have both and be both, and also give the example to other people that you don't have to have it all figured out to be successful. You can actually be a human being and also create a lot of beauty and success and healthy friendships and relationships and not be perfect. In fact, it's better if you're not, because that's so boring. I don't want to be friends with the perfect person. They're boring.
Yeah. I also don't know. I don't want someone to reflect perfection. I want someone to reflect human stuff, right? You know, like that's where the small talk, right? The small talk is what gives me anxiety. Like, hi, how are you? It's so good. I'm like, I'm not going there. I just don't want to fall into that energy force of like perfection, exactly like what you said. I like the flaws and I want to dig into that. And I think as a sports broadcaster, we can't have it's live, so we can't have moments of authenticity that are like bloopers, and those are my favorite. So I think if we can love the bloopers and, you know, and love the people that are willing to bring the blooper to the table and be and just be them and share their story, it just feels like service to me. So you're incredible. How can people find you on social media?
Luna Battalia, website lunaloveleadership.com. I'm around. Hit me up. Love to chat.
Yay! I'm going to hit you up because I think we have some work to do together. I'm really inspired by you. Like, I really think what you do is so cool and so interesting, and I'm just really grateful you made time for me.
It's so great to be here with you and your audience, and thanks for doing this. I love this Women Crush Wednesday theme, and it's awesome to just like uplift so many women. And I'm just going to say it out loud because I said it to you yesterday. I'm really excited for you to connect with Laura Senko whenever, like, I just feel like the universe has, like, there's magic, because she's totally that thing, a female in broadcasting who's super authentic, does the bloopers, has the moments, is like emotion, like just so perfect, and like really great at her job and knowledgeable about the subject that she's on, and not just a pretty face in addition to being a pretty face. Real awesome human. And so I just feel like there's something there.
Yeah, I'm going to clip this off and send it to her. So you better wait and see. She hopefully will join me. And thank you for being willing to promote another amazing female, because I think that kind of energy is contagious. And when other women see women lift them up and speak so highly of them. It just like that comparison meter melts and we're just like, oh, I'm good, you know? And so I appreciate that you just are that way. And I hope I get to interview Laura. If anybody watching knows Laura, please reach out to her on behalf of me. But Luna, you're incredible. And thank you for being so open about your story and your grief and your journey. And I can't wait to work with you in the future.
Thank you. Thanks so much for today. It was lovely.
Bye everybody. Thanks,
Bye.
Luna.